Not difficult, not complicated, just impossibly fast. Let's discover a surprising truth. English is probably not as fast as you think. In fact, the real problem may have nothing to do with speed at all. Think about the last time you listened to a native speaker. Maybe it was a movie, a podcast, a YouTube video. At first, you understand a few words. Then suddenly, everything disappears. The speaker keeps talking, your brain keeps trying to catch up, and within seconds, you feel completely lost. Most learners believe this happens because native speakers talk too quickly, but that's not actually true. The real reason is much more interesting. Your brain is trying to do too many things at the same time. First, it hears a word. Then it tries to remember the meaning. Then it translates the word. Then it checks the grammar. Then it tries to understand the sentence. Meanwhile, the speaker has already moved on. Imagine trying to read 5 books at the same time. Impossible, right? That's exactly what many English learners do while listening. Native speakers don't translate. They don't analyze. They don't stop to think. They simply understand. And that's why English sounds effortless to them. The difference isn't intelligence. The difference isn't talent. The difference is processing speed. And the good news? Processing speed can be trained. But before we talk about how to train it, there is another hidden reason English feels so fast. A reason that surprises almost every learner. And once you understand it, English listening will never look the same again. Let's start with a simple question. Why does English feel so fast? Most learners think they know the answer. They say, native speakers talk too quickly, the accent is difficult, the words are unclear. But that's not the real reason. Think about this. Imagine someone says, "How are you doing today?" A native speaker hears it instantly, not as 4 or 5 separate words, but as one complete idea, one message, one unit. Your brain, however, may be doing something very different. It hears how, then it tries to understand, then are, and it tries again, then you, then doing. By the time your brain reaches the last word, the speaker's already halfway through the next sentence, and suddenly you feel lost. Not because English is too fast, but because your brain is working too hard. This is one of the biggest differences between beginners and fluent speakers. Beginners listen word by word. Fluent speakers listen idea by idea. That's why 2 people can hear the exact same sentence, yet have completely different experiences. One person understands everything, the other understands almost nothing. Now here's something interesting. When children learn their first language, they don't memorize grammar rules first. They don't study vocabulary lists. They spend thousands of hours listening. Slowly, their brains begin recognizing patterns, not individual words, patterns, chunks, common expressions, and eventually, understanding becomes automatic. This is exactly what happens with fluent English speakers. When they hear, "What are you doing?" they don't process 4 separate words. Their brain recognizes the entire expression immediately, almost like recognizing a familiar face. No translation, no effort, no delay. But many learners try to understand every single word, and that creates a traffic jam inside the brain. The speaker continues moving forward, but your brain is still stuck on a word from 5 seconds ago, and that's when English starts feeling impossibly fast. The truth is, the problem is often not speed. The problem is processing speed. Your ears are hearing the sounds, but your brain hasn't learned to recognize them quickly enough yet. The good news? This can be trained, and much faster than most people think. Because once your brain starts recognizing English in groups instead of individual words, something amazing happens. The language suddenly feels slower, clearer, and much easier to understand. But there's another reason English feels fast, a reason that surprises almost every learner. Native speakers don't always pronounce words the way you learned them in textbooks, and that changes everything. In the next part, we'll discover the hidden pronunciation patterns that make native English sound completely different from classroom English. So now you understand something important. English feels fast because your brain is still listening word by word. But that is only half of the story. There is something even deeper happening, something most learners never notice. Let me ask you a question. When you listen to English, are you trying to understand every word? Be honest, most learners do. They stop their brain on every single word. They translate, they analyze, they try to solve the sentence. And while they are doing that, the conversation has already moved forward. Let me show you something. A native speaker says, "I'll catch you later. I've got to run." A learner thinks, "I will catch you later. I have got to run." Too slow, too heavy, too late. But a fluent listener hears only, "Catch you later, gotta run." Two ideas. Instant meaning. No translation. So here is the second hidden problem. You are trying to understand English like a test, not like a conversation. In a test, you stop, you think, you analyze, you check grammar. But in real life, the conversation never stops for you. It keeps moving. And this is why even easy English feels impossible in real time, because your brain is using the wrong mode. Now listen carefully. Fluent speakers do something very different. They don't translate English, they predict it. Yes, predict. When they hear the beginning of a sentence, their brain already guesses the ending. For example, if you want to, your brain automatically expects improve your English, learn something, do something. This is not magic. It is pattern recognition built from exposure, not memorization. But here is the truth most learners don't want to hear. You cannot build this skill by studying more rules. You build it by listening to real English patterns over and over again until your brain starts recognizing them automatically. And now you might be thinking, so how do I train my brain to do that? Good question. Because in the next part, I will show you the exact shift that turns slow learners into fast listeners, and why everything you've been doing until now might be the reason you still struggle. Now let's make this very real. No shortcuts, no magic tricks, just the truth. You now understand something important. English feels fast because your brain is still trying to process every single word, and you are treating English like a school subject, not like a real skill. But here is the real question. How do you fix it? Let's be honest. There is no instant solution, but there is a real method that works. Let me show you. Stop translating. If you translate English into your language, your brain will always be slow because translation creates delay. Fluent speakers don't translate. They connect meaning directly to ideas. No middle step, just meaning. Listen to the same English again and again, not new content every time. Same sentences, same phrases, same patterns. Why? Because your brain doesn't learn from variety. It learns from repetition. When something repeats enough times, your brain starts recognizing it automatically. Shadowing. Listen and repeat immediately. No thinking, no translating. Just copy the sound. Example, I've got to go now. I've got to go now. This trains your brain to respond naturally without stopping. Now connect everything. English feels fast because you translate too much. You focus on every single word. You don't recognize patterns yet. But when this changes, English stops feeling fast and starts feeling natural, because fluent English is not speed, it is recognition. So here is the truth. You don't need perfect English. You don't need more preparation. You don't need to wait. Fluency is not built before speaking. It is built during speaking and listening. Every fluent speaker you see today was once slow, confused, and unsure. The only difference is they didn't stop. They kept listening. They kept practicing until English became automatic. Because understanding English is not about time. It is about method. Now you know the method. Stop translating. Start recognizing patterns and train your brain through repetition. That is how fluency is built. Not suddenly, but step by step, day by day. Until one moment, you realize something surprising. English is not fast anymore. It is natural. It is clear, and you are finally following it without effort. If this video helped you understand English in a different way, then don't stop here. because this is only the beginning. I post more lessons like this that will train your brain to understand real English, not textbook English. So make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next lesson. And most importantly, watch the next video immediately because consistency is what turns understanding into fluency. See you in the next lesson where English starts to feel easy.